Hello everyone and welcome to Merlin's Manor. Today I'm going to be doing my top 10 welcoming board games list. These are games that are going to be good for those who are new to the board gaming hobby or for those who prefer lighter type games that are easier to learn. These would make great gifts as well as just ones to introduce people to the hobby. And so I'm going to go ahead and start out with some honorable mentions. First of all, I would like to mention Everdell. Didn't quite make the list because there are some things that can be kind of off-putting. First of all, when you are starting out the game, there's not a whole lot you can do, and so for somebody that's new to be like, well, I didn't get much done, that might be a little bit of a thing that you don't want to get into early on, as well as there are some kind of weird kind of rules that are different from a lot of other games that of this type of nature, and so not really one I'd first recommend, maybe more of a Welcoming Plus type game. And so I didn't quite make the list. Trekking the World, I enjoy it very much. Just didn't quite make the list. Horrified is another one that can be good. It's a cooperative game where you are working together to solve some various puzzles. Also a good one. Minecraft Builders and Biomes, if you have someone who's into Minecraft, be a good one to introduce them to. And Century Golem Edition, a very basic kind of resource hand management type game with an engine building aspect to it. Just didn't quite make the list. Was a little bit more on the complicated side than some of the other ones that did something very similar. Now the ones that did make my list, I tried to take into account both how much I enjoyed them as well as how easy it is to learn those games. I also kind of tried to make a variation of different types of themes and different types of mechanics, and so kind of learning different things as you go. There'll be a couple that I kind of have a couple games that you can kind of choose between along the way. So let's go ahead, without further ado, let's get into the top 10 games. And my first one is going to be Carcassonne. This one's a classic game. It's a tile placement game. Very easy to get into. Not a whole lot of complicated rules to learn. You're basically just picking up a tile each round and playing it and then putting down a meeple if you want to, either on a road or in a city. And you can leave out the farmers to begin with to kind of make things as easy as possible. You also have a church area you can choose, and so there's a few different places that you can do things, not a whole lot to learn. So Carcassonne is a great beginner game, and there's kind of this fun kind of building out this city as you go. And so it's a great one to start people off on. Coming in at the number 9 spot is Seven Wonders Architects. In this game you are building up a wonder by getting resources, and you're going to have decks on your left and right that you're sharing with the players to your left and right, and you're going to have a deck in the center. Now the decks on your left and right are going to show you what you're going to get. The one in the center is face down, so it's a mystery. And so you're going to look, oh, do I want this resource over here or this resource over here? There's also different science cards that are going to help you get points. There's different civilization cards that are going to get you points. And so you're trying to decide what you're going to focus on. You can focus on military to try and get points by having more military than the people to your left and right whenever it comes time to have a battle. And so there's different paths to victory. Also the different wonders, each has a different kind of power ability. And so you have this variable player abilities that kind of change up things a little bit from game to game. You can play as a different one. And it's a very simple game to teach. There's not a whole lot that you do. You just basically pick up a card, play it down in front of you, and try to build up your wonder and do whatever else you can to get some points. Now, if you want something that's a little bit more complex and you have some closed drafting where you're not actually be able to see what people have and you're just kind of picking a card and passing it on, you could go with the original Seven Wonders, which is fun as well, just a little bit more complex than Seven Wonders Architects. Now at number 8, we have Planted by Phil Walker Harding. And this is going to be a card drafting game with resource management. It's very simple to learn. You're basically just picking a card out of what you have and then playing it to either get resources or to get some ability to score points or to get some tools that are going to help you out later on. And you're going to be picking up plants along the way as well by taking what's called a nursery action. You're just basically, instead of playing the card that you've chosen, you can discard it and take one of the plants that's face up there, which is going to have resources you're going to have to try to get in order to score some points. Very simple to teach, and you kind of learn as you go a little bit on that, and so it's a great game. Another Phil Walker Harding game that could fill this spot is Sushi Go Party. It's also a card drafting game where you're picking a card and just playing it in front of you for points. Very simple to learn, and a great game as well for those who are just getting into the hobby. At the number 7 spot, I have Summer Camp. And Summer Camp is a very basic deck building game, and what you're doing is you are going to be getting cards that are going to be added to your deck and shuffled up, and you're going to be drawing cards into your hand and deciding which ones to play, and you're going to try to race down this pathway. First one to get to different bridges gets a badge, gets some extra points, and you're going to try to get as many of your different hikers down to the end of the tracks. And there's a bunch of different setups that you can do, different types of cards that you can play, so it gives a little bit of variability as people kind of learn this game and get used to it. And so I highly recommend this as one of the first deck builders you get. Another great first deck builder, if you want to go more the cooperative route and if the theme more appeals to you, is the Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. It's a very simple deck builder as well, and you can play cooperatively, so this is especially good for introducing people to the concept of deck building because you can kind of work together towards a common goal instead of being up against one another. And so Summer Camp or Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle would both greatly fulfill that role. Coming in at number 6 is Parks. Parks is a very simple resource management game with some light worker placement. A lot of times worker placements, you have this whole kind of bunch of different places you can go, and it's kind of overwhelming sometimes for somebody who's new to worker placement games. But this one, you're just going along a track and you are deciding how far you want to go along that track. You may want to race forward to be able to get to a resource before others, or you may kind of go a little bit slower so you can collect more along the way. And then when you get these resources, you are going to pay whatever resources are listed on the different park cards in order to play that card into your tableau of cards that you have to be able to score points at the end of the game. Along the way, you can also take pictures to score points, and there's a few other different ways that you score points. Add in the Nightfall once you get used to that, and it adds up even more variability and makes the game even better. But I would start with a base game because there's a few extra things that you would have to teach and learn for the Nightfall expansion. Coming in at number 5 is a push your luck game called Quacks of Quellenberg. And here you are building up a bag of ingredients that are going to help you get around this board to score points and to get more buy power to buy even better ingredients. And so you are going to be taking one token out at a time, and it's going to move you along depending on the number that's on there. Different abilities are associated with each of the different tokens. And you're going to have to try and decide when you want to stop and when you want to push your luck to pull even more out. Because if your potion explodes because you get too many white chips out, you are going to then only be able to score either the victory points or get the buy power to be able to buy things. And so you won't be able to do both. And so you want to try and stop right before your potion explodes, but you also kind of want to push your luck a little bit sometimes to get it further down so you can get more out of it, especially if you know you have a lot of good stuff still in your bag. And so this is a game that is a lot of fun just to kind of play. It doesn't take a whole lot of thinking power for the most part, and it doesn't take a whole lot to learn. And so it's a great game to just be able to have some fun. That's Quacks of Quedlinburg. It's my favorite push your luck type game. Coming in at number 4 is Welcome to Your Perfect Home. This is a flip and write game, and so you're going to be flipping over cards and revealing a number on one side, and on the other side is going to be an effect. You're going to choose a combination. There's going to be 3 options in front of you. You're going to choose that combination of a card number and an effect. You're going to write the card number into one of your streets, making sure you are going in ascending order from left to right. And so you're going to start out with the lower numbers, of course, on your left and higher numbers towards your right. And you're going to try and get points in a variety of different ways. It's kind of a point salad type game. And you're going to score based on having pools and parks and just all kinds of different options to be able to maximize your score. It's very easy to teach. It's going to take a little bit of time to master, but it's a very fun game to learn. And it's a game that can be played with any player count, all the way from playing it solo all the way up to 99 players or more if you have even more sheets. Welcome to Your Perfect Home is a great introductory game as well. Now let's go ahead and move on to number 3. Number 3 is a very popular game. It's called Ticket to Ride. In this game, you are building out different routes to try to get connect from one area to another. It's got a set collection element to it where you are picking up cards of different colors to be able to play your train down onto the board. And it's very simple to learn. It's basically on your turn, all you're doing is you are grabbing either a couple of train cards, or you are playing a route, or you are getting more tickets towards the end of the game. You might try to do that, but you have to keep in mind that you need to be careful to try and be able to fulfill those routes, because if you can't fulfill them, then you're actually going to get negative points for that. And so it's simple to teach. It's got a great theme. It's fun to be putting these different trains down on the board. And so it's a very enjoyable and great way to get people interested into the board gaming hobby. Ticket to Ride. Now at number 2, we have one of my favorite games, Wingspan. This is a great welcoming game. You're doing one of 4 actions on your turn. You're either playing a bird, getting food, getting eggs, or getting new cards. And as you build up your tableau, you're going to get stronger and stronger as you're going to be able to get more resources, as well as being able to activate various brown powers, which are going to have different things that are going to happen. A very simple game to teach. It may seem a little overwhelming at first as you've got different things you have to try and make sure is going on. There's a lot of different ways to score points, but at the heart is a very simple game, especially if you use the Swift Start packs, which kind of walks you through your first few turns. You can really teach somebody very easily how to play this game. Even without the Swift Start packs, it's not that complicated to learn how to get things done. It's a very satisfying game, and there's some cooperation throughout the game as some abilities give the ability to give food or other resources to other players. And so you can kind of help one another out as well, which also kind of makes it a little bit more welcoming. There's not any kind of take that elements to the game, at least in the base game. And even the take that elements that come in later on are still fairly friendly as they give you something you're able to do as well. Like for instance, it might say they take a worm from you, but then you get to grab something from the bird feeder. And so a very friendly game, easy to learn, and very satisfying game. So I recommend Wingspan at the number 2 point. And now for the number 1 game, Isle of Cats. And you may at first be like, is this really that welcoming of a game? Because it's got a little bit of complexity to the main game, but what I really love about this game is that it has a family mode in it, so that you can start out very simply by playing a game where you basically just start out with a couple lesson cards, which give you bonus points if you manage to get something by the end of the game. And on your turn, all you're doing is you're grabbing a cat, placing it on the boat to try and fill up space on your boat, as well as trying to cover up rats. And you're trying to get different colored cats to be near each other to score points for families of 3 or more cats. That's all there is to it. Very simple. And then once people have those down and played several games that way, you can very easily then bring it up to more of a welcoming plus type game and add in more components that are with the regular style game, where you are now doing some card drafting and some resource management and hand management type stuff in order to be able to get baskets in so that you can then play your cats. It's going to have a little bit more of a crunchier type thing going on with trying to figure out, okay, I need to buy cards with fish, but I also need to save some fish in order to be able to play cats. And so once you've gotten that family game down, you can kind of level up to the more complicated game, and you're not going to have too much of a problem adding in a few extra things at that point. And so this is a great entry-level game when you take the family mode into effect, and then I really love it and made it the number 1 here on this because you can then level up as you get more knowledgeable at the game. So these are my top 10 welcoming games. These games are fairly easy to teach people who are new to the board gaming hobby. They're a lot of fun, so they're going to leave people wanting to come back and play more board games. And so I encourage you, if you are new to the hobby, check out some of these games. If you are in the hobby but you want to introduce your friends to the hobby, these are some great games to start with, great games to give as gifts. And if you have any that you'd like to suggest, please leave them in the comments below. What games do you like to use to introduce people to the board gaming hobby? As always, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.